Sure your mics are on.
Yep. Okay, it's 8:30 and we'll call this session of the DeKalb County Council Wednesday, June 10th, 2026 meeting in order. At this time, we'll begin with an opening prayer by Bob Kraft.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for today. We thank you for another day of life, another day to serve you and to serve the citizens of DeKalb County. We just pray that you give us wisdom and discernment as we talk about things for the taxpayers and that we would serve them well today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. At this time, would you please rise for the pledge of allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Hey, Council, you've had a chance to look over the minutes from the May 13th, 2026 meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, we'll accept a motion for approval.
Make the motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Amy Prosser and a second by Bob Kraft. Any further questions from the council?
I'll abstain because I wasn't here at that last meeting.
Okay, we'll make a note that Amy's going to abstain. This time we'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the minutes from May 13th, 2026 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay. We have three additionals here. So if you'll take a look at the first one. Hi, Bill. No, that's fine.
Phone calls.
Always good to see you. Okay, the first one comes from Central Communications. Fund name is the Public Safety Lowett County Share. Fund number 1170. Account number 12200. The account title is Insurance. The amount requested is $124,206. Was this included in the annual budget request? And the answer is yes. How will this appropriation be used? It'll be used to make up the difference in the amount provided at budget time to the actual cost. Specific cost of the item, $124,206. How was this cost determined by the auditor? Is this a recurring expense? And the answer is no. Will other expenditures be necessary? And the answer is no. Was it discussed with the liaison? And that is yes. And the liaison's name is Rick Ring. Rick, do you have anything you would like to add to this?
The amount that was budgeted was the people at the time and the anticipated increase, lack of increase, participated wellness, reduction in their what the employee had to pay, what he had to pay. Those changes after.
Not unexpected.
Well, unexpected.
Or change.
And the changes.
There will be another one coming for highway, but I'm waiting till closer to the end of the year for that because we'll transfer as much as we can first before.
Okay, thank you.
And Brian won't have anything to transfer because he doesn't pay much from this fund besides wages.
So is this something that we didn't see coming, right?
Well, we do the budgets 6-7 months before the new year.
Yeah.
We're basically doing the budgets right when we are just getting a new health insurance premium.
Yeah.
So we have no idea what's going to come in another year to be able to plan. I mean, we can inflate them, but then you guys would be approving a number that we have no idea what it is, and then there would be extra money in there that could be transferred to something else.
When we were emailing back and forth on
It depends on the employee, yep. And it depends now, if the employee does the wellness, they get $40 off instead of 50 total. And if they have a spouse, the spouse can do it, and they can get like up to $65 total off. So it all depends on what plan they're on. It depends if they're on PPO. If they're on HSA, then there's HSA money to put in. It's never, ever going to be a number that you can actually budget 100%.
Option would, like, the current number, budget available. Is your best estimate higher than?
With the renewal date in February, you're not gonna know until January, and you'd have to know by July.
Renewal's July.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that
Right.
the renewals, you'd have to have your renewal in like August to get those numbers in July.
Well, and when we did the way we did it past, we're on annual. So we do the budget in July, but we wouldn't get the proposed new rates until January. So then we're still. Why we moved it from July.
We were October. We were October, so we were after. Yeah. It was weird.
Are we staying with the same company,
Yes.
PHP? So it'll be the same cards and,
Okay, any further questions?
Question, so on this documentation that we received, the $50, is that per pay?
Yep.
That the employee earns for doing the wellness? And then
They don't earn it. They just, it's reduced from their
reduced
premium.
off of their premium? And is the fifth, so I'm looking at one here, the very first one, 1568.76. Is that their premium then, that the employee is paying? Oh, no, it says employer.
I gotta see what you're looking
Yeah, so I won't
at.
say
I would
names,
say it's
obviously, but the
probably
first
the
one there.
employer part, because that's what the, yeah, so the two columns that are like peach colored,
Yep,
those together would be the employer amount, which would have to be in the budget
per pay.
per pay.
And then the one in the white, like that first one there, $226.84, that's what the employee is paying.
Correct, and if that same employee had not had the wellness, then theirs would have been $50 more.
Got it. If they do the wellness, then they get $50 off every pay.
Well, that ends this month, and then they changed it, and so for starting July, now it's $40 for an employee and $25 for a spouse. So they can get anywhere between
Okay.
25 if the employee does it, but the spouse does, 40 or 65. No. Correct.
And that's per pay, not like per month or anything, that's per pay.
Per pay, and that was the commissioners that adopted that.
Bottom line, the wellness program saves us money. Problem is, we never approved it. Catch early on cancer, diabetes, and other
Oh, sure.
cost us big.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't arguing the wellness plan at all. I just wanted to understand the numbers.
Public as to why it is a benefit. Because there were times in the past where we had some major expenses with heart attacks and transplants, cancers.
Sure.
We've got to get our employees healthy. Got to get our employees healthy. One way to do it.
I don't have any other questions.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll entertain a motion to approve the $124,206. We have a motion by Rick Ring. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a second by Bill Van Wy. All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Hey, Brian, can I ask you a question? You've stated, yeah, come up. Are you at full capacity now?
I have one opening that we're doing application process for now, and we will have one more at the beginning of the year. We have one retiring.
Okay. And one other question after this. What is this his testing variation from $11.77 to $35? Was that part of his deal
What are you talking about?
on this back page?
That's not.
No,
Oh, that's not his. Never mind, that was theirs. No, that's just what I want to know is what you're at.
We're doing really well. Our one recent opening came because a young gentleman decided he wanted to go work at one of the distribution warehouses and, didn't like night shift.
Now, you and I spent some time the other day talking, got something else coming down the pike here that we gotta address.
Well, I'm gonna have 3 of my female workers all going on maternity leave within about a month and a half of each other. So I will have an additional appropriation request coming down. I would like to try to backfill the retirement position early. And if we can do that, along with Tiffany and I helping out, we're not going to stress the center out. But yes, 3 babies between the end of December and beginning of February.
This must be a thing.
That's because women are the best.
Well, yeah.
Just please don't drink the water if you come to my center, that's all I ask.
Yeah. Good. At least he's filling in so we don't have to listen to some baby cry when we call in.
No, we'll fill in.
Every other question?
No, I'm done. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Moving on to the next one, from the Family Recovery Court Grant, they're requesting $5,000 for medical testing services. This will be used to cover the drug screen costs of FRC participants. Cost of the testing varies from $11.77 to $35 per test. Does anybody have any further questions regarding this?
What is this for?
This is
Family
medical
Recovery
testing.
Court.
And
Family Recovery Court.
Their family recovery. Okay, I didn't see that. Okay. Thank you.
we'll entertain a motion for approval for the $5,000 additional.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Amy Dembski and a second by Rick Ring. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the $5,000 for medical testing services for the FRC participants signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The additional has been approved. And the last one we have is coming from probation. Again, this is for medical testing services, and the amount requested for an additional is $2,500. This will be used to cover the drug screen costs for ATC participants. Again, the cost varies from $11.77 to $35 per test. Any discussion from the council members? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of the approval of the additional $2,500 signify by saying aye. Sorry, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
We need a motion first. So do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Amy's made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bill Van Wy. All those in favor signify by saying aye of the approval for an additional $2,500 for medical testing. Signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And the additional has been approved. Okay, that takes care of the additionals that require council action. The non-approval transfers you have a list of. And to approval of updated job description / salary ordinance amendment. And we have one for the Veteran Service Office. We have one from the Deputy Veteran Service Office / Office Manager, and we have a third one for the Veteran Service Officer Assistant there. So we have 3 requests for updated job descriptions here. Susan, how do you want to proceed with this?
Well, I think the subcommittee probably needs to talk and not me.
Amy?
Yes, so, I met with, Rhonda, the current Veteran Service Officer, and, her deputy Samantha. As most of you know, Rhonda is retiring in July, and Samantha will be taking over. Her deputy will be stepping up, to do the VSO position, so we're excited about that transition. As Samantha is stepping into that new role, her and Rhonda both had asked for a couple tweaks in their schedule. The first one is changing their job description from 8 to 4. I'm sorry, I think it was 8 to 4 to changing it to 8:30 to 4:30. So nothing big in the job descriptions at all. It's just changing that time because they felt that would be better served for their veterans. So that, I think, is the first one. And then the other thing that Samantha wants to do is, rather than hiring someone to replace her as a deputy, she actually would prefer to have a office manager. If you remember, we've had that position in the past who worked kind of as a VSO deputy / office manager. She is actually requesting, though, just an office manager who will not be a veteran, if I remember correctly. So she felt like if she had somebody in there right now just to handle all of the paperwork, that she would not need a deputy at this time. So it's a little bit of a money saver for us, for the county, and she will be trying that out as she starts to take over the Veteran Service Office in July. So the other part then, that the office assistant manager, that position technically has been listed as a part-time position, and what we're asking the council to do today would be to move that to a full-time position, office manager for them. So those are the 2 changes that we're requesting.
So bottom line is, there was currently.
There will still be 2. Yeah, just different rules. Yep. So those are the only changes. Any questions on those?
Thanks, Amy. Does
Yeah.
anybody else have any additional questions for Amy?
And I know Morgan's here also to assist with any of that, if anybody else had any questions on that.
We're all good?
So we need you guys to motion and approve the updated job descriptions for the time change and the
Or the other
VSO
offices?
assistant.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve these 3 descriptions here? And as Susan mentioned, for the change of hours and for the office assistant there.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Amy Prosser. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bob Kraft. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of approval of the descriptions, the job description, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, next item is the ordinance number 2026-OCC-6. This is a 26 salary and hourly wage ordinance amendment, and this is from the Veterans Affairs, account number 11408. Job title is the Administrative Assistant. The WIS category is COMAT A, and the pay per hour, $24.08. Okay, we will need an approval of reading on title only that I just read. Do we have a motion to approve this on title reading only?
Make that motion?
Okay, we have a motion by Amy Prosser. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Bob Kraft. Any? Yep. That is the maximum in the category.
Great point, thank you, Rick.
Clarify that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving this wage ordinance number 2026-OCC-6 on reading of title only, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is approved on title reading only. Next, we have,
Okay, wait a minute. You approved that on first reading?
we approved it on title only.
First reading.
Okay, so who motioned that?
Amy
I did.
Prosser and Bob Kraft seconded.
No, that was to approve the job descriptions and the time change.
But we did it again.
But they did it again,
Same two people did it.
times two.
Okay,
We can make it times 3 on this.
okay. Go for it.
We're gonna move to suspend the rules,
Yes, please.
I'll second that motion.
okay?
Okay to move
Okay.
on? We good?
Yeah, they've suspended the rules now for you.
Well, we're,
We're gonna vote on that.
okay.
Vote on suspending the
You
rules.
guys are efficient, I like that. So,
We're ready.
we have a motion to suspend the rules by Amy Prosser made the motion and Bob Kraft the second. Any further discussion on suspending the rules? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. Now we're down to the second and third readings here for approval of ordinance number 2026-OCC-6. Do we have a?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, they switched you up on you there, Susan.
I know.
We have a motion by Bob Kraft and a second by Amy Prosser. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving ordinance number 2026-OCC-6 on second and third reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried there, so. Okay, moving on next. We are going to discuss tax abatements. And I'll turn it over to Rick on this part here.
The tax abatement committee met this morning, and over the course of the last week and a half, we have one or two of us have visited the firms that have tax abatement. Verified that they were abatement. Project Auburn Renewable, Dairy Farm.
Okay, we have a motion by Rick Rain to find the 2, 4, 6, 7 companies with tax abatements, all in substantial compliance. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Bill Van Wy. Any further discussion from the council? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the tax abatements that participants are all in substantial compliance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Tax abatements have been approved. Okay, moving on. Randy, airport.
Just do.
Morning, all.
Good morning.
First off, I think I'd like to express our thanks to allow us to present to the council monthly and keep you up on what's going on. Our T-hanger project is well on its way. They should be breaking ground here in the next week or so. They'll do all the foundations, let them set, and then the steel buildings will go up in October. Everybody who is in the old C row of hangars that we're going to demolish has either said they want a space in the new ones or they're going to move. So once they move their aircraft, we think by January that we'll be able to demolish those old hangars. that I used to fly out of long, long ago. So that'll be done. The runway 927 rehabilitation project bids open this week. Again, we're going to do 5,000 feet of runway, 100 feet wide, and I believe 5.5 inches thick. They're going to mill all of that out. They're going to reconstitute the subsurface with some concrete, mix it in, let it set and stabilize, and then they're going to put the 5.5 inches of blacktop back on. We anticipate that taking up to 60 days, again, depending on weather and that. When that's done, then the airport will stay open for a month, and then we'll close down for up to another 30 days, where they'll come out and groove the surface so the water runoff is enhanced and the runway is, again, safer for aircraft to operate in less than optimum conditions. So that's that project. The taxiway that now extends all 7,105 feet. When we put the last 2,000 feet on, there were some grading issues, some lights that stuck up out of the blacktop and stuff. They're all being fixed right now. We expect to sign that off shortly. Lunch on the fly. A week from Friday, we'll have lunch from 11 to 1 at the airport. You're welcome to come in, take a look around, see what's there. Kind of on the, we're looking at the addition of another corporate hangar on the aircraft property, actually down where the church was. We're still working through that to see if that, between all the state and federal requirements to put a structure that big on the airport, it takes some time to get all the approvals and stuff done. So, we're doing that, and I would like to tell Bill that babies happen. You seem surprised by that, but.
That's good, that's good.
Yeah, as an off comment here, I delivered a baby in Corona in a really thick fog. The kid's now 35. I met him at Home Depot not too long ago. His mother introduced him, and her first comments were, "Do you recognize me?" And I said, "No." So they do. And with that, I'll open any questions.
We're in Corona.
Pardon? Actually, that great big brick farmhouse that sets on the north side, right on there on 6, the fog was so thick that we ran 30 miles an hour lights and siren from DeKalb Memorial to Corona to get there, and yeah. Yeah. It's great when it's over. So.
At least the mom remembered you.
Yes, she did. It was kind of, I was walking down the aisle at Home Depot, and she came running up kind of and said, "Do you remember me?" And it's like, "No." And she says, "You remember delivering the baby?" And I said, "Yes." And she says, "Well, here he is." And he had actually been waiting on me for about 2 weeks at Home Depot, because it was during the time we were building the escape room. So, babies happen.
Makes it all worth it with those moments.
It did. It did. That was one of 2 in my career. So.
Anybody else have any questions or comments for Andy, Bill?
Yeah, I got one thing. So
Yes.
you got to fly in next Friday, right?
Yeah.
And that'll be probably end. When does your airport officially close down?
Well, we don't know that yet, because
Okay.
that's going to be, it's going to be next summer.
Oh, it's not this summer?
No, it's not
Oh,
this summer.
okay.
We opened bids this week
Okay.
to make sure we got a contractor that can do the job, again, fall within the engineer's estimates. And once that's done, then we'll start planning for the closure. One more thing I just remembered, I was going to bring a picture. Russ and I went down to Indianapolis. John Feister, who is the engineer assigned from BFNS to the airport, was the state finalist for an award for engineering on our project. And we went down, got the award. Allen County, their engineering department got an award as well. And the guy says, "Well, at least people can see what John does, because he does sewers," and he says, "We bury all my good work." So we did have an award winning, or state award finalist, doing our work at the airport, and we're very happy with that.
Any other questions or comments? Randy? Thanks, Randy. Appreciate
you.
the update. Thank you very much. Okay, we're a little ahead of schedule, and I don't see Jeff Peters here, so we'll move on down to take a look at the updated job description for the GIS.
You might want to call Chris in. Do we need to have Chris?
Yeah, is it Chris is, we don't want to do that one.
Okay,
We want, Chris wants to be here.
So, you could do commissioner
yeah.
discussion, and then we could move to council.
So, okay, council commissioners discussion. Bill, have you got anything you'd like to add? Or,
Jim's up back.
Jim's back there.
President.
yeah, oh, okay, well, I'm sorry.
Kind of caught me off guard there a little bit.
What's that?
He caught me off guard a little bit. And I just want to make everybody aware, I'm sure most of you are already aware, that I will be stepping down to the end of June. And as commissioner, they will caucus in a new commissioner on next Monday, the 15th. Reasons for
We changed
stepping
it, Bill.
down
Bill, we
is,
changed it 22nd now. We changed the date. It's the 22nd now. A week later.
that's good to know. Anyway, reasons is I'm just tired. And, you know, I did everything I thought I really set to do when I took the job as commissioner. And it's come to a point where I'm not as sharp as I used to be, not as energetic as I used to be. And I come to the point that I can't do the job I think I should be doing. I would step down, and that time has come. You know, I give it all I had, and I've got nothing more to give. So it's just time to step aside. I'm not one to hang around just for the sake of hanging around. And need new ideas, new blood, new energy into that seat, and I think we'll have that, depending on, of course, the caucus, but I think that's pretty much set. Other than that, just it's been my pleasure to work with everybody and to be a part of this, what do I want to say, county government, and do what best we could for the county, what's best for the people, the taxpayers. You know, they foot the bills, and we spend their money, and I was always conscious of that responsibility, and was always, in my mind, a good steward of their taxpayer money. Other than that, it's just been, like I say, my pleasure to work with everybody. You know, we had a good outcome finally with the highway. I thank the council for their participation in funding that project. That was a big, important project, well overdue, and so thankful for that. But anyway, just we'll catch you later. Any questions or comments?
Bill, on behalf of the council, would like to thank you for your service. And you're right. You've always kept the taxpayers' focus as number one priority. And you've faced up to a lot of tough decisions over your tenure. Yeah. And you never vacillated. You stood the course there. We may not always have been in agreement, but that's what it's all about, too, to present different points of view here. And I respect and admire you for your leadership, and thank you very, very much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. You've done an amazing job. We're very proud of you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Jim, we weren't slighting you back there. I couldn't see you back there, so come on up, please.
What did I do this time? I'm just here because we have a meeting with the auditor afterwards.
Okay, didn't know if you had anything to share or anything coming right there, so we're not trying to put you on the spot, just want to give you an opportunity, so.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you for being a man of few words.
So I'm going to play Kellen for a minute because because he is not able to be here. He's at Vacation Bible School with a bunch of kids. But he wanted to touch base on, he asked last time about the jail, if you're moving forward with it, what you're thinking on it, and he just wanted to touch base again on that. That's all I got.
Excuse me, okay.
You said that they're moving forward on it, or he's wondering if the
No,
council?
he's wanting to know what the council's thoughts are and if you're moving forward soon, not moving forward.
You know,
Just
we have.
any thoughts?
Do we have anything to look at, or a total amount of what the jail will be? Because we can't make any decisions until we know what we have, what we need to do.
There are plans that are still out there, correct, Bill?
Yes.
Yeah, there are plans that are out there, but I don't think I don't think the commissioners or us have gone any farther. I do know, and Jeff will be here in a little bit, Jeff has asked on several occasions that we start looking at how we're going to finance the jail, and because it will be a long process. It's nothing that can be decided in a matter of a month or 6 weeks. So those are questions to ask him when he's here, but we really need the direction. Commissioners, I think, would have to come back to the council with, these are the plans that are still active, and this is the new price. I think Kellen gave us a kind of a jaw-dropping update a couple of weeks ago when he said the price has now climbed to $50 million, which we're going to have to decide, can we afford something like that? And if not, what are you going to do to cut that price down? And nobody knows how accurate it is. That was everybody's best guess. I mean, so it's.
So I don't know if maybe, it's been a while since those jail plans first were done. So I don't know if maybe they're trying to figure out if you're wanting to move forward with it in a sooner than later time so that they can go back, because it will cost to go back and have them update all their information. I don't know if that's what he's trying to find out before they pay to redo it, if it's still gonna be like 10 years down the road, because then you'd have to pay to redo it again. I think that's just.
That was his specific question, was should they start spending money to start reviewing the plans and renewing them if we're not doing, if we're gonna do something in the next 2-3 years?
We need Jeff Peters to be involved so that we know the direction that we're gonna go. And the other issue is, we've put money aside in the rainy day fund for a couple of years now to offset whatever we might have to bond in the future. And I would propose that we actually go against what Jeff had originally proposed, but I would propose that we establish a jail fund to save money for the jail, and we move some of the money out of the rainy day fund and put it in a jail fund.
I think we've talked about that in the past.
Yeah,
That has been
and
a
I think it's time to do that. I mean, it's going against what initial advice we were given, but there's so many different things happening right now that it's possible that money, because of the suspension of the gas tax, the governor's already, he has told us that he will have, the state will help backfill what we're losing in the not having the gas tax. That proposal's been pushed out there. But what I'm also hearing through the grapevine is, what that means is, we're going to suspend community crossings and take the money that was going to be in community crossings grants and backfill everybody that way. So you're a loser one way, you're a loser both ways. The other thing is, we've got money, the commissioners have money in their economic development fund that is guaranteed to pay the bonds on the highway department. And in 2 years, when that economic development tax goes away, there won't be any more money going into that fund those bond payments are gonna have to come out of the general fund. You know, that's just not going the right direction. So, you know, that we gotta preserve the money that's in those economic development funds to pay those bond payments for the highway department, and then make sure that we don't spend the money for the jail on something else.
But Rick, before we were putting it kind of in rainy day so that it could be used if there was another emergency.
emergencies.
But now we need to, you're saying maybe possibly protect ourselves from the state or somebody coming back and say, oh, if you have reserves, you got to use your reserves to get by this shortage. So we might want to preserve those by encumbering them as a jail fund. Because that would.
That's what I'm saying, and then Jeff just walked into the room, so he.
Yeah, makes sense.
We can get into that here in a few minutes, but yeah, I mean, he's been after us to get something going on this jail because it's gotta be planned for, and it can't be done overnight, so getting him involved and getting him involved sooner the better.
If I may, sir, address that issue. As far as, I believe, the commissioners are looking at, well, and I'm going to speak for myself only, and not for the other two commissioners. It's my belief that I do not want DeKalb County to end up the same as Allen County, and we have a federal judge telling us what we can and cannot do. I think everyone in this room realizes that having a federal judge mandate, the cost to the Allen County went up immensely compared to what it would have been had they had control themselves. Given that, I do not, as a commissioner, want to be in that situation. I would much better like to be proactive on this and get started on a jail, as opposed to reactive, having a federal judge tell us that mandate what we have to do. So given that, I think the first step for the commissioners is we have the set of plans. Kellen and I don't know, I suspect Bill has too, all of us talked to Elevitas to see what the price is to have those. Obviously, they're 8, 10 years old. They will have to be updated, at least for ADA, and I'm sure there's a lot of other things. We need to make sure that if we're going to do that, that the council's on board moving forward with a jail. Yeah, I believe it's going to be a 3 or 4 year process at the very least. The council's made it very clear, from my understanding, that they do not want to take a bond out on the jail until community corrections is paid off. Totally understand that. But before that, a lot of that work can be done so that when that happens, we can move to get this new jail. I don't want to do it. I don't think any of us want to do it, but again, I do not, as a commissioner, want a federal judge telling us how we have to do it. I think that would be very detrimental to the county and cost us a lot more, as Allen County has learned. So given that, I guess the first request would be that we come back, the commissioners come back with a number that says this is what we're going to need to update those plans. To me, that would be the first step. So I guess that's, at least for myself, that's the road I'm going down, is we need to update those plans.
And Jim, I think that we also need to point out the fact that we receive a weekly report from the jail on the occupancy of the jail, with the exception of a couple of weeks just not too long ago. We have never been at or below the 80 prisoners that we say is maximum for the jail. We have always been 90 plus. And so we are still overcrowded, technically, and we have the records to show that. It would be even more overcrowded if it wasn't for community corrections. And community corrections we have an advantage there, because if those people were in the jail, we would not only be supporting them through our tax dollars, but we'd also be paying all their medical expenses. when they're in community corrections, they're in work release, they can still go to their jobs. They have to pay the county certain, I think it's $30 a day still, or maybe it's a little more. They pay the county for every day that they're in there. They pay the county. Plus, they're still on their medical insurance. We don't have to cover those things. So it's an advantage that we have community corrections.
And we'd be over by 30 or 40 more people in our capacity.
Jim, what's the capacity of the new jail that we're looking at building?
Well, I've heard it's 150, but I've also heard that it's 125. I've not seen the plans, and so therefore, I really can't answer that. But given that, I was told by, I think, someone from Elevitus, but wherever it was when I was at the commissioner conference, that we don't need to build a 200-person facility. And so I've taken that under advisement. And until we get updated plans, I really don't know what that figure is.
Okay.
That, Amy, that number, and I think that 200 number that Jim's talking about might have been in the original evaluation that we received in 2016, which I think I sent that, when I found those recommendations from that study that we paid for, I think I sent that to everybody. But if you don't have it, let me know, because I do still have it.
It'd probably be good if you would just resend it. Chris wouldn't have it. It would be good to resend it, I think, just so we could all kind of review that and, yeah.
It was really, at that time, though, we were holding a lot of state prisoners. And that continues to be an issue because the state can't accept them fast enough. I think the last report I saw, there were like 15 prisoners in the jail that should be going to state prison in the future. But when that happens, I don't know. The state does pay us. They're not always timely in their payments, but they do pay us for keeping those people an extra length of time. But
And that was before community corrections was in place, and so it would have been more on target for 200, was what we would have needed. The other thing is the modular design that we had, Bill, I remember that if we build 125 or 150 or whatever, I don't know, you can add extra modules. It's laid out so we would be able to add extra modules in years to come when we need those. And I don't remember the capacity of each module, whether it was 25 or 10 or whatever, but each module held so many more.
Little clarification on that estimate we did back when Elvise designed the jail. I was part of that design process, and it was actually designed to 240 plus beds. So I think the 50 million estimate that Kellen is talking about is a worst case scenario. I talked to a person that is well versed in jail construction, and he is suggesting maybe 200 beds. But he's also suggesting that we do a data research on how many beds we're going to need off into the future and get this number maybe more around the 200 rather than the 240 plus. That make a big difference. And yes, it was designed to add a module, and these are pods, whatever you want to call them. They're a circular module, and one will go off. I think the original plan was off to the north, and another would go to the south. Don't remember the specifics exactly, but it was designed that way, and there was a lot of extras thrown into that design that maybe could be pulled out as far as the administrative part and the size of the cell block itself. So anyway, we really need more information, updated information on that jail design. I think the modules are probably pretty much set. It's the latest design, it's very efficient. One jailer can cover the whole jail, where now we have 3 and 4 jailers in there watching to make sure everything is maintained and peace kept, so to speak. So anyway, that's kind of brief summary of where we were at with that jail design.
The modular design is really, is designed for efficiency.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of room out there to add modules. I mean, it's not like they're not gonna landlocked or anything like that. And there are several examples within Indiana, some very close, where you can go and see that that jail design actually in functioning now. The original one is in Adams County, Fulton County has one, I believe Henry County has one, and all of them are, the Elevitus or those sheriffs, our sheriff can arrange to get you a tour of those jails down there, because they are working very, very well, and with each new jail being built, they've updated and tweaked things in the original design to make it more efficient, and I think they're doing a good job. But I think Bill's probably correct too. The number that we originally designed around was based on that study that we had done back in 2016, and things have to have changed by since then. Definitely.
Previous sheriff, he pushed for a lot more than probably what we needed. And we did go down to Adams County. We went through the Adams County jail. We also went over to Rochester, a jail that was being built at that time. And they both have the same newest design in those pods where the prisoners are kept. And in addition to that, these things are designed, it's like a wagon wheel. The jailer sits in the middle on an elevated pod, and he can see every bit of that jail, every part of it. Around the outside of that jail is a open chase, and all the plumbing and electrical and everything comes in through that chase. That chase is wide enough to run a one-man lift around there because it's a two-story design. They can run a one-man lift around there and service those pods or those jail cells, whatever is needed as far as plumbing, electrical, and so forth. Where now the old design is really tough to work on. It's made easier, it's made a lot more efficient. What the money's going to be, it's a shot in the dark. We've got to get some more figures together and get some estimates. Any questions?
Thanks, Bill. Jim, excuse me. Soon, I think we need to get some kind of a hard number that you bring so we can get this ball rolling, because we're getting closer to paying off community corrections. And speaking for myself, I haven't seen any updated plans in quite a while. Is there something that we could get to share with the council or anything?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay.
I spoke with Elevitus, and obviously they're interested in continuing the relationship, and I'm sorry, it just makes sense since the original plans are there. It would be very cost effective to just update them as opposed to starting all over. I don't foresee that happening in any way, myself anyway. I don't foresee that. But I believe the commissioners, we will take that first step and see what that number is going to be to update those plans, and I will be back.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
I was just, what he just said.
Okay.
He's going to get a number to update the plan.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jim.
Well, I guess we didn't want to pursue it if the council's not interested. So I'm just trying to make sure everybody's on the same page. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill. Jeff, welcome. We're going to take about a 5-minute break here, if that's okay, and we'll get back here and get started a little after 9:30. So. Okay, I'm going to call the session back in order here. So at this time, Jeff Peters is going to discuss our 2026 physical plan and anything else we throw at him.
Thank you all. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. While I walked in on the jail discussion, and you're kind of still in that same frame of mind, if you want, I'll give you kind of a thumbnail of that process, some of the things you want to consider as the fiscal body in bonding for that and incurring the debt for it. You have, as you know, implemented a correctional facility income tax. You've put back quite a bit of money. I think in the fiscal plan, it shows if you continue to levy that through 2028, which is what we would anticipate at this point in time, you probably have $11 million or so in there. So that is
What was the number?
I think it's going to be $11 million, a little bit more, and we'll run through that when we get to the fiscal plan. But that should give you money that you need to further develop the site that you need potentially to finish up the engineering and so forth. You've already got that pot of money. You'll just need to appropriate it for those purposes. And then you'll have that final cost of what you want to get to as to, you know, what is that for jail. And I'll give you an example. I'm working on one right now. It's 112 beds. All-in cost is going to be about $38.5 million. It does have some pretty significant land and utility costs to develop the site. But, you know, just as kind of a ballpark.
How many beds was that again, Jeff? I'm sorry.
That one's 112 beds.
112, okay.
Yes. On the financing of projects, income tax versus property tax. And as we all know, we've got, again, this push from the legislature to go away from property tax onto income tax. You can repay bonds with either income tax or property tax. You can also schedule to repay with income tax and back those bonds with property tax to get a better interest rate and a better bond rating in the market.
In the past, here. I think we did that with the community corrections.
Could be, yeah. So again, it's utilizing your best security to get the cheapest interest cost for your people. Now, on the size of the project, there are some parameters that were put in place in last year's legislation, and then there were some that were historical that carried forward. And one was we had a certain amount of a project, I think it was 15 million when it was originally written, that would be subject to referenda if you were going to repay it with property tax. But that $15 million number has escalated each year based on the growth factor of the maximum levy. So that number for this year is like $20,600,000. If your project would exceed, and project, this counts cash that you would kick into it, if it exceeds $20,600,000 and you are going to repay it with property tax, if it draws a petition, you would go to referenda. So this project would obviously be well above that. So most people would be looking at an income tax solution so that you did not have to go through the property tax procedures to secure the debt. Unless, as a group, you say, you know, yeah, we either don't think it'll draw a petition, which a project that size and for a jail, for some reason, people fail to see the utility of a jail and just hate it and vote against it. Parks, schools, all that stuff seems to pass, but jails, people, I think, just instinctually vote it down. They don't like it. So the path that most people look at is, what is an income tax solution that I can impose so that I don't have to go through the property tax procedures and draw the remonstrance?
And when we did community corrections, one of the things that we were looking at was, and we took that correctional facility tax early on, and we were limited to 20 years. And we were thinking that when we paid the community corrections off, we would use the remaining years that we had to use that to pay the bonds for the jail. But now, with the changes with SB 1 and all these local option income taxes that are coming on in 28, 29, that community corrections tax goes away and would have to be built into the general fund or the county overall 1.2%. The exception is those counties that went, I understand the exception is those counties that went to the legislature and got a specific tax for their jail. Those will survive the changes in 28, 29, but the community corrections tax that we're using goes away. Am I correct in that?
Partly. And I'll go back to kind of the cap of what Senate Bill 1 and what the new legislation does. But all that was correct. That was the original thought. All of those special rates do continue on because they are securing bonds at this point in time. I don't think they have.
But our bonds would be paid off at that.
Your bonds will be paid off, and that yours was not a special rate. Yours was utilizing an income stream that you were allowed to. Certain counties went to the legislature and said, you know, under whatever that rate was, we can't build a jail. We're going to need a rate twice that. So they got special legislation, and that stays in place because that is the security to repay those bonds.
And that's what Jamie Bolsler has been promoting to us from AIC, is that those rates stay, but these, I think it's what, a 0.2 that we're using to pay for the community corrections.
I believe yours is it 0.2 or 0.13?
I
think it's 0.13.
0.13 is right.
So if we look at the new legislation and lit all in, the county can go up to 2.9 total, 2.9% total for all of the income tax rate. The county unit itself, you can impose 1.2% and use that for any county service. You can also impose 1.2% countywide for smaller cities and towns, and even the big cities and towns, if they opt in to be treated in this pool. And this is kind of morphing together. The 25 legislation allowed for 1.2, but the big cities were excluded. The 26 legislation says if the big cities want to come in and be counted in this pool with the small cities and towns, they can. And they probably will mathematically now, because if you impose that rate countywide, all of these cities and towns get a distribution equivalent to 150% of their proportionate share of population. The county gets what's left. So at some point in time, if you have enough city and town population at 150%, the county's going to get nothing come the end of that calculation. And we haven't done those for DeKalb County at this point. And I thought we kind of talk about that a little later, about whether you're going to go through the MUST process and whether we want to go down and look at those alternate scenarios. But back to the 2.9% total. 1.2 the county gets, and that is what's built into this fiscal plan. It shows you of your own volition and what you can get automatically for you. This is how we think it fits into your fiscal plan, how much money it would generate to provide all the county services. That other 1.2 that you can impose for small cities and towns, you may get some additional money off of that, because whatever is not allocated to the other cities and towns, the county keeps. Also, you can impose 0.4% for fire and EMS. And again, I'll morph the 25 and 26 laws together. If you impose, bless you, if you impose a fire and EMS lit, it mandatorily gets shared to any fire district fire territory, municipal fire department, and by municipal, it would be city or town fire department, a township fire department that responds to at least 51 or more than 50% of its fire runs with a full-time fire department, and they define that by employees that are full-time paid at least $30,000 a year. And then as an option, you sitting at the county council level can decide to also share that with other township fire departments and volunteer fire departments. In 25 legislation, they provided a framework for that, and it was based on population and service area of the fire district, or whoever was providing fire in certain areas. For 2026, they've said, we're going to throw that out. The county council gets to decide what that distribution formula looks like, and you only have to consider population and service area. You don't have to base it on it. You just, that would be part of your calculus where you decide they're going to get X, Y, and Z and how we're going to distribute that money. So there's 1.2, 1.2, and 0.4. That gets you to 2.8. You have another 0.1 that you can distribute, that you could collect as a lit rate and then distribute. Individual smaller units of government, you can do it by class. So you can do up to 0.05% for townships. You could spread that across theirs, and that would be spread by population, so it would be per capita. Libraries, you could do 0.05, a solid waste district, a transportation district. If you had some airport, yes, airport and any other weird small unit of government, you could allocate up to 0.05. Now, obviously that's more than 2.9. So the 1.2 for the county, the 0.4 for fire and EMS, and whatever the sum of these smaller units are, cannot exceed 1.7. And that 1.7 constraint, along with the 1.2 for smaller cities and towns, would get you to that 2.9. And I know that's real convoluted, but that's how it all limits out so that nobody, regardless of where they sit in the county, whether it's inside a big city that imposes their own rate or out in the county, nobody exceeds 2.9, and that's how it's locked down.
The Association of Counties has employed Policy Analytics and Larry DeBoer to develop a portal, which our district meeting was last night, so I know several people on this council saw that. Others are going to see it on Saturday at the state called meeting, where you can start, it will show you with current numbers what the collections are for the county, the cities, the townships, whatnot, and then start manipulating those percentages to see that they can make it so that the individual unit remains whole or does get an increase if we're going to consider inflation, but it'll be something that the counties will have available to them when they do those budgets. I think now Bob heard it last night, and I know Dave is going to hear it on Saturday, but it's a rather intricate system because we were the county association was actually combating with AIM because AIM was pushing the fact that the county was getting too much and they weren't getting enough. The cities and towns were not getting enough. So this hopefully will help balance that because it is a county decision. It's a county council decision. The legislature has determined that the entire population of the county is represented by a majority of the council. And so it will be a council decision. And we're going to need that tool, but we're also going to need Jeff to be here, to be with us, not physically, hopefully, that we don't make you sit through 2 days of meetings, but you're gonna have to be there to help us because we'll have more detail than we've ever had before, to do budgets.
Yeah, and timing-wise, the 26 legislation pushed all this back to collection year 2029. So you will not be making that decision until between July 1 and October 1 of 2028. So you still have lots of time. As far as data available, I haven't checked yet this week, but I haven't heard that the income tax bases for the cities and towns are yet available. I don't think that's been collected by the Department of Revenue. That's still.
Well, I know there was something about, under current data collection, you might be listed as Auburn, Indiana, but not necessarily within the municipal limits of the city.
And
So they were gonna update that.
Those make huge differences on what is that actual income tax base. Like for my city and town clients, what we've done is tried to extrapolate from AGI data at the federal level, the population, versus what that looks like countywide. Because we know what the Indiana local income tax base is for a county, but we do not know how much of that is Auburn. And part of the 25 legislation required Department of Revenue to collect that data so that you can actually have that data set. Because those bigger cities and towns, they may choose to be excluded from that pool and just impose their 1.2% so that they can maintain control over all of that. They don't have to rely on you. You would have to impose whatever rate you deemed appropriate for that whole group of cities and towns. But if they are greater than 3,500 in population, they can impose their own 1.2, but they only get whatever's in that pool. That's why I say, if you set the rate high enough, the big cities and towns will come into that pool because they'll get 150% of their proportionate share instead of 100% if they levy it by themselves. The other thing, as you work through that stuff, which again, is not going to be until the middle of 28, by opening up the fire and EMS formula to whatever allocation method you decide, that is a huge number. 0.4% of your income tax base and how you share it for fire and EMS throughout the county is a huge ordeal by itself.
I think
And to have
the number that came up
guardrails.
last night, Jeff, with that 0.4, $6 million.
Yeah.
For DeKalb County.
Yeah. So having no formula, but just guardrails, here's $6 million and you decide how that gets divvied up. That's ugly, and I think it's going to be an ugly fight.
But we also don't have to impose the full 0.4 if it doesn't require that much to make everybody whole.
Correct, and that's going to be some of the conversations. Do you just make everybody whole based on the income tax they lost? Do you make everybody whole based on the income tax and the property tax they lost by increased circuit breakers and new homestead credit? Do you make special exceptions for these people who were underfunded to begin with, where you have these, and we do a lot of fire work throughout the state, but you have these suburban areas that were rural. I have a 100-acre cornfield. It doesn't require much fire and EMS. When I build 75 houses in that 100-acre cornfield, it requires a lot of fire and EMS. Their levies that are in place do not cover that sort of increase. So are you going to look at those as special circumstance and say, yeah, not only are we going to make you whole, but we're going to add on an extra 50% to bring you up to an acceptable level to provide fire and EMS in those areas? It's going to be really in-depth and a lot.
The thing that is going to be I think the biggest issue is the fact that the rules have already changed twice. 25, 26, this isn't gonna take effect until 28, pay 29. You can change the rules 2 more times.
Yes.
And trying to keep up with all the changes is, it may be difficult. I mean, it's gonna take a lot for the auditor, our financial advisor, and members of the council to stay on top of that, because you could put the county and the other cities and towns and fire departments and everybody else in a hole if you're not on top of the situation right from the beginning. I know one of the changes already that's happened is counties were not previously allowed any of the money from that fire and EMS. It all had to go to fire and townships. They've changed that rule so that now the county can claim part of that money, and in our case, we have, the commissioners have a bill that they pay to Parkview EMS every year that now can be part of that .4 correction or collection. It doesn't have to come from the general fund, which currently I think they're paying it from their edit funds, so.
Yeah, and there are multiple counties around the state that have either partial countywide EMS or countywide EMS, that it's a separate tax levy on a subset of the county. And that was the big pushback for the 26 change, because counties are like, do you realize how much money we spend in EMS?
Yeah.
You know, if we're having fire and EMS at a certain rate across the entire county, we should share in that pool, and you should.
Well, it's just, if we have to take the county money and go through fire and EMS, which EMS, fire, now if Auburn goes in and set their .12%, they don't have to put any money back for their fire department. We're covering that, right?
They would get both. They could get their 1.2, and then they could get their proportionate share of the 0.4. And in a lot of my clients, what I've seen is they're going to need both of those just to replace the income tax they're getting today. But again, I haven't run any of those analyses for your county yet. I've held off for everybody as much as I can in the fact of what you brought up. We have a 27 legislative session, which is a long session. I'm sure there will be changes, and there might even be tweaks in 28 before you ever get to make the decision. I hate to build a whole big elaborate model that, you know, is a solution, and then they throw it out or cut the legs out from under it, and I think it might be throwing good money after bad.
My question is, getting back to that jail question, that if we don't need that whole 2.9, which when she was running on the seminar last night, she actually did our county as kind of an example. Didn't appear that we're going to need that whole 2.9 to make everything whole, but we could use part of that 2.9 to fund a jail. Is that what you're saying?
And that you may want to do so that you don't have to go through the property tax procedures to get the debt approved.
Right, to try and get a referendum, I mean, because.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that it would come out of that 1.2%.
Correct, or the residual amount of the 1.2 that you levy for the small municipalities, or part of the 0.4 that you now have offloaded the expense out of the commissioner's budget for EMS. That would be 3 potential new income taxes that you could get in and siphon off enough that you can make debt service payments on the new jail from income tax and not property tax, and therefore have easier procedures to get approved.
Jeff, I think for listening, when you said new income taxes, we don't want people to freak out because some of our current income taxes will go away, and these will replace those. So.
Correct. It is a new income tax regime, but it is still income tax they're currently paying today. It may be more or less when you go through the process. I would say it is likely more because the legislature, again, has taken away property tax dollars from you. They have made that decision that as a group, we should rely less on property tax and more on income tax. Whether you believe that's good or bad, that's a legislative initiative. So don't be shocked that you're potentially going to have to raise income taxes because you have less property tax and may just need to raise income taxes in general to fund your
Do
services.
you believe those property taxes will actually start to go down, or, because right now the assessments are going up as fast as the rates are going down, so we end up paying the same or more?
Your assessments went up, your assessed value went up in total, but you still had new homestead credits that went out. That's going to take away $500,000 from your property tax collections this year.
And those were the additions or changes they made in the last legislature for over 65, disabled veterans.
It was those, along with you get 10% of your tax bill up to $300 is also issued as a credit from home.
So all of that took money away. But then one of the other changes in the current local option income taxes that we have a 0.5 property tax replacement. That goes away.
That goes away in 28. So then in 29, where certain people's property taxes were subsidized with that income tax to keep them below the tax cap and the circuit breaker, now those people are going to come in above the tax cap. They're still only going to pay their 1%, 2%, or 3%, and you are going to have a greater loss in property tax dollars. It's not a huge amount, and we've got that on the first page of the assumptions as to how we've modeled it. But again, you know, we've talked about projections before. Typically, we would only model 3 years out. We can make a pretty good projection across 3 years. This goes out to 2032 and incorporates that 25 legislative change, and we don't know how all that's going to shake out. We've also assumed a very small underlying growth in assessed value, which last year it proved to be more, but assessments, again, typically lag a couple years behind based on sales data. So, you know, where the value today might be a little less than it was 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, those assessments propped up 26. I think you'll start to see some reductions in assessed value 27 and forward, unless, again, you have good growth, if you have natural development that continues to occur, or if you, again, have a hot appreciated value market for homes, businesses, et cetera. You know, it may keep you in the positive as well. But it's not going to be the same growth that you would have experienced but for the 25 legislation they put in place. So kind of some overarching things in what we looked at is the biggest thing we wanted to get out of this fiscal plan was, can you survive with your own authority at that 1.2%? And that's pretty much what this plan proves, is that once you get to, even though these tax collections have been postponed to 2029, if you get there, you'll have more than enough money to fund all the operations as you're currently undertaking. Now, between now and then, you are consuming cash through 2028 unless you were to raise your income tax now before you're mandated to change all the income taxes come 2028 or 2029. You know, the thought last year was it was going to be 27, pay 28. You would just wait for that to happen. You'll absorb those reductions to your cash reserves. You have wonderful cash reserves. You've done a great job of setting money aside. I think this is perfectly fine if you want to continue to eat into those cash reserves until you reset everything with better information come the summer of 28. Again, though, if you wanted to correct that trend in the interim of 27 and 28, you do have the ability that you could raise income taxes. You could potentially generate about another $6.9 million in operating income taxes, either through the economic development or the public safety portions of income tax.
The limit that we have currently is 2.5%,
For the expenditure rate side is 2.5%.
and we're at 2.13, I think, right now.
Well, that includes your property tax relief. You're at only 1.63 for the expenditure side, but all in, I think you're at 2.13. One other thing in the fiscal plan as you go through that, when you look at public safety lit in 2028, it's going to be short potentially about $866,000. So those expenditures, if they're still planned to be made in 2028, they're going to need to be offloaded to another fund, like the general fund. Again, this won't affect your 27 budget, but just so you have it in the back of your mind that that revenue stream is insufficient to get through 2028 based on the expenditures and the projected expenditures of the fiscal plan.
In that one, DeKalb County has, apparently there's provision within that public safety tax that we could take off the top the amount of money that we need for the PSAP. We've never done that. We've gotten the public safety tax in and then divided it up among the cities and towns and us based on, what is that, based on population or something like that?
Currently, that one's based on levies.
Okay, so we could actually take what we need off the top for the PSAP, is the way I
You could, and
understand
that
it.
would reduce the distribution to the cities and towns.
Yes.
Or you could raise the public safety for just the PSAP portion and keep that to offload some of your expenses.
You're assuming a 3% growth every year on the expenditures that we're looking at.
I believe in the assumptions, I think it's 3% growth, yes, on all the expenditures.
So we're seeing a reduction in the amount of what's coming into what our general fund would be because we are continuing to spend at that 3% additional every year.
Yes.
Okay. So in theory, we could not spend, we could not grow 3% every year if we were worried about the reserves.
Yeah, if you want to balance revenues to expenditures, you would have to make a lot of expenditure cuts in 27 and 28. Again, like I say, you've developed these cash reserves. You're going to have to adopt a whole new income tax regime. I don't think you have to do that, but if your goal is that we have to balance revenues to expenditures, then yeah, you'll need to make cuts.
But that's 27, 28 with the new rules.
It's pretty much the old rules and the old revenue stream. Yeah, at this point in time, you're spending more than you're bringing in. But again, that's not to say that that's wrong. You know, you are delivering the services that your people are requesting or requiring you to deliver. And you know, over time, inflation typically outpaces what your revenue stream is. That's why the legislature has in place up to a 2.5% lit expenditure rate that you can impose today all the way through the end of 28. And you've only imposed 1.63 of them.
Do you ever make recommendations where we should make those?
I try never to. Because, you know, everybody's different as to, you know, what is it they benefit or what is it they value most. There are some people that would never give up their park and rec stuff. But, you know, those are one of the things that I always say, well, you know, I'd rather have a cop than a park. But again, that's just me, and I wasn't elected to do anything.
You did make a suggestion a couple of years ago, which we did last year, and that is we zeroed out the reassessment. That we had asked which fund has more than necessary, and you pointed out that the reassessment fund had far more than it needed. So I think we zeroed that rate out for this year anyway.
Yeah, and I think in the fiscal plan, I've assumed that you'll zero it out for 27 and 28 as well, because it has well more money than it will ever need. That doesn't decrease any of the expenditures that are coming from the reassessment fund, but that cash is built up there. It'll take a decade to spend, all that down.
And, spending more than you take in that also you have to take into account, this is fund accounting. You might have plenty of money in one account that can't be spent for other things, simply because of the way the government funding is structured.
Yes, and it will ebb and flow. And, your income taxes, previously you had been under-distributed in your income taxes, and you had these supplemental distributions that came every year based on statute. Now, for this year, I believe there's no supplemental distribution. So your 2024 income tax was less or pretty much equivalent to what the state thought it was going to be, so you're not getting a supplemental distribution this year. That might flip again in 2025's data. It'll depend on the income tax.
Is that from what do they retain? 11%?
15.
15%? And I know we've gotten that reduced at least once.
Yeah, back
more
years ago, it was 50%.
Yeah, I said it long ago.
Yeah.
It was
And then, I think in the mid-2000s, they flushed out all of that money and took it to 15. And my question, in the new legislation, they're going to revamp all of your income tax account that's held at the state, and they don't specify what happens to your residual balance. So I'm assuming it's coming back to you, but I don't know if it's coming back to you 2.5 years later after the audited numbers come in, or if they will assume part of it is real and apply it toward the 15% balance they want to keep in your new lit account. But when I read the law, that's not how I see it. I see that they are going to distribute you 95% of what they think will be collected in 29, 30, and 31, and that's what's built into your plan. And then in 32, you'll get 100% of what they anticipate you'll be distributed. But you still should have a chunk of change of income tax that comes back to you, but I don't know when it's coming back, and I don't know exactly how much it is. On the Economic Development Income Tax Fund, we did look at, after 2026, we've reduced the annual revenue back to about the $2 million a year that fund collects. It looks like you've undertaken a big project out of Economic Development Lit in 25 and have budgeted another one for 26. Is that true?
Is that the bond payments for the new highway?
No, it's above and beyond the bond payment for the highway garage.
Well, they spend $1 million every year for highway operations.
Okay, so you're undertaking highway things.
They've done that for the last probably 3 or 4 years. So
Okay.
$1 million in operations, and then we added the highway bond payments.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the fiscal plan, we've scaled that back to the $2 million revenue stream because they've basically burnt through the cash. Part of that might be offset by you adopted the wheel tax surtax so that you would also get the lane miles distribution and some of that revenue. That is built into your motor vehicle highway fund. So that should provide more money for you to undertake those projects. So that will alleviate some of that need that's been coming from the Economic Development Lit Fund.
Speaking of that, and now it's already been published that Garrett is going to establish their own wheel tax. And I believe that Auburn will also, so that's going to take that revenue from registrations in the city of Garrett or city of Auburn out of our income. So it's going to be less than, because both cities, both of those cities found out that in order to qualify for the additional monies, they had to have their own wheel tax. They could not use the fact that the county had one.
Okay, and they did not put it on in the time period that it allowed it to be stacked?
It does not, it can't be stacked.
Okay, but under the original, they did not stack it, they did it after that?
Right, this, yeah, it's just now been, Garrett's has just been published, like last week, I think it was. And I don't think Auburn's not published one yet, but I know they're gonna go for one before the end of the year.
Okay, and we'll revise that. The other revenue amount that's in the motor vehicle highway fund is the estimated lane miles. When you had Jennifer Sharkey up here last year and gave the presentation, she had provided some estimated numbers to us. We put all the lane miles in 27 because her original thought was it's not going to be distributed until 27, but it's going to include 26 numbers. I had some email correspondence with her in the last month or so, and now they believe there will be a 26 distribution. And later in the summer, they're going to send out what those amounts are. So hopefully by budget time, you'll know more what that amount is for 26. I assume it'll be a similar amount for 27, but the two of them put together still might be close to what's in the fiscal plan.
I'm smiling because I know that the governor has suggested that the state might help us backfill what we're losing in the suspension of the gas tax. And simply because I think that some people think that that money to help backfill us might come from that community crossings money instead of community crossings projects. So
That would be disappointing, but I could see that. So is there any specific parts of the fiscal plan that we want to dig down and delve into? Again, like I say, the overall process that we wanted to make sure of is that you're able to, under your own authority, be able to continue into perpetuity. And I think the way the law is written today, giving you approval for that 1.2% to be used specifically for county purposes, that gets you all of your operational stuff in the fiscal plan and then some. What's not included in there yet would be income tax payments for jail debt, if that is something that you were going to pursue, income tax rather than property. The property tax would be above and beyond, but again, it will take you through a process that you may have to go through a referendum.
Make sure I got this straight. What is our rate for our local income tax right now, 1.6?
I think it's total 2.13. 1.63 is for expenditures, and then 0.5 is for property tax relief. It reduces people's property tax bills.
And you say if we can raise that up just a little bit, we can raise it up a point or two. We have a room to do that.
You could raise the 1.63 on the expenditure rate side. You can raise it all the way to 2.5 if you desire right now through 2028.
And you say that would probably produce another $6 million for the county?
It'd be about 6.9 million.
And if we'd follow that steps, would that be a lot, that'd be our expenditure, and then we can use some of that money and put back or put in a jail account so we can.
You could continue to accumulate the excess for jail, yes.
If we can get enough money back where we don't have to have two bonds issues, I mean, a bond issue for the jail, or I mean, we'll have to, but we don't have to do it on the property side because I already know that won't pass because of the way I've heard people talk and everything, property tax and stuff, so.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see what our options is so that we ease into it. I don't have to raise and be taxed for years on end for a new jail.
The more income tax you would generate in 27 and 28, the less you would have to issue in bonds for the jail project. But again, you know, that is an income tax increase to the people.
I just wondered in the long run, which way would save us more money?
The more cash you can put into a project, the cheaper it will be from the interest rate side, obviously. Because if you do this, and we use the same methodology we've done before, which is back it with property taxes, even if we pay it with income taxes, so that you get the best bond rating and the lowest interest cost, that will limit the debt repayment to 20 years. So a 20-year debt with a amount that large is going to have a lot of interest. So the more money you can throw at it in the beginning, the less interest you're going to pay, and the smaller the payments are going to be going forward.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that was probably be more, less interest we have to pay, the better that we can, our bill wouldn't be as big as in the long run. So, I understand that. Thank you.
As we do our budget in July and August, going to be close to the phone if we got questions.
I think the days that you have department head stuff, I'm going to be in a Teams meeting.
Well,
I guess I get to watch.
that was the original request, but I believe if you're just available for us to call if we have questions during that is sufficient.
That would be better.
Yes. Yeah,
Not that I don't want to hear everybody's requests, but yeah.
totally get it.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll block those days out, and I'll just be in the office working, and if you guys need anything, call.
Okay.
Jeff, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
We're in such a better place today than we were 12 years ago when I got on council. And that's because you've worked with us over the years and helped educate us. And just thank you so much for participating and being part of this.
Well,
Very helpful.
thanks for letting us out. My life's work.
Thanks, Jeff. You gave us plenty to think about and plenty to digest here, so it's,
Yeah, and if
Good
some of that soaks
presentation.
in and you need clarification, send an email or give me a call.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. GIS System Administrator.
Morning.
Good morning, Chris.
How is everybody? So we are here today. I brought Jarrett with us, who's in the GIS department. Dottie and Morgan are here as well to lend their support to request two job description changes. One's in addition to the department. The other one is more or less a revision to an existing job description we have. When the cyber incident happened back in September, our data, Jarrett's far more articulate than me with this because he knows it like the back of his hand. So he'll probably correct me on some things. But basically our data being stored with the city of Auburn for GIS, Auburn's requiring us to separate from them starting January 1st. So December 31st is the last day that we will have access to our GIS data. Requiring us to create a data enterprise system. See, I'm getting it. Create a data enterprise system that we will have to manage and make sure stays up and running. For everybody that uses Beacon, our realtors, our surveyors, auditor's office staff, they have their own standalone desktop versions of GIS. So all of that data has to get managed and updated. And that is something that right now the city of Auburn does, I believe at a no cost to the county. It's just kind of been a gentleman's agreement for the last number of years. We do pay into a ESRI agreement that gives us the licenses for the GIS mapping, which will not change. We will still have to pay into that, but the management of the system is something that we will have to take on. With that, what we're looking at doing is creating a GIS specialist position. This would be a full-time, non-exempt, entry-level person kind of right out of college that can be data entry for transfer deeds, new subdivisions, things that day-to-day need to get done for the updating of the mapping software. I believe Jarrett sent out or gave you all copies of those job descriptions. I believe the first one is the GIS specialist position. Again, that's just kind of an entry-level position that we are requesting. The other one is, right now, the two people in our staff, Jared and Anthony, are under the same job description. It's a GIS data analyst and GIS coordinator, I believe is what they're called right now. And with that, we're keeping that job description, but kind of creating a new job description in addition to those duties, a GIS enterprise system administrator, which would be, you guys kind of have a choice here, and this is going to be really confusing because it confused us during the email process, but there's a GIS enterprise system administrator that would be exempt, so it would be a full-time salaried position, versus a GIS coordinator / enterprise administrator that would be full-time not exempt, so it would be a full-time hourly position. And the reason, and I'll let Jarrett come up and talk here in a minute about kind of the specifics and answer any really specific questions you have to the jobs. But this position, not the specialist, but the position we're talking about now, whether it be exempt or non-exempt, will require probably quarterly Jarrett or whoever would have this position to come in on weekends and do updates. The last thing we want to do is have this go down when staff of the county are working in the software and we need to do a 6-hour update or what have you. So that update's going to have to be done on the weekends. There's a handful of times as well that currently Nate Fry, that used to work for the county in the surveyor's office, is the GIS administrator over for the city of Auburn. There's a handful of times that the system does go down and he needs to come in after hours, on weekends, at night, and figure out what happened and get the software back up, or get the enterprise system back up and running. We see that as more of kind of a IT role, which is why we're proposing it be exempt, which would also, and Dottie can cover her ears on this one, what I see it as is it helps save the county money because we're not paying for up to 40 hours plus potential overtime when he needs to come in and do these updates and when he may have to come in and fix an emergency problem. So with that, that's why we've proposed it both ways. I'm fine going both ways. I believe in my budget, I have it proposed that he would work up to 40 hours a week. So that's what I put in my budget, just so you guys could see that. But I would need to add a overtime budget into the budget for 2027. But with the exempt status, it would go down to whatever the tier is for the Pat C, and you know, he would just work when needed to get that job done.
Chris, can I?
Go ahead.
Since we're on this exempt status, so we had a lot of discussion by email with the committee here, and Dottie did send this to WIS about that exempt status, and I could read. They did, based on assessment of the updated job description and FSLA compliance questionnaire, the position of GIS Coordinator and Enterprise Administrator meets the computer-related occupation exemption test. However, we found the position to be borderline in meeting the test. So it does meet it. They're saying it does meet it, but it's just meeting it. So
Yeah.
we can make them exempt, according to WIS.
I think in that memo, didn't I also see that if it's determined later that we didn't meet it, then we might be liable for overtime and fines and whatnot. That was the reason for the,
It says, meeting the exemption test, which may present a liability for the county of back pay if the classification is ever challenged. So it's something-
And that, I think, would be if it, and Dottie can come up and speak to this too. I think that would be if they're doing more work, or sorry, yes, more work than what they feel they're getting paid for. So if they were doing more non-IT work on the side of it, than doing more data entry, for instance, or something like that, then it could be considered a liability for the county.
But those exempt hours, from what you just described, sound 99% IT, like you've got to.
Yeah.
Update
And
the
I'd like Jared to
system.
come up and explain what that enterprise administrator stuff requires. I don't have stuff is probably as good as I can get on it, but, he's going to be doing a lot of system building and data enterprise building and managing, and not so much the day-to-day, we have a new subdivision and he's got to plot it out on the GIS map. So, Jared, if you want to come up and just kind of explain a little bit of that to them and answer any of the questions.
Yeah, so I mean, the specialist position is basically going to be taking what I'm doing right now, day in, day out. And the new enterprise administrator / system administrator, whatever we decide and go with, that one is, yeah, it takes a lot of work and a lot of time because Esri makes it so that you can piecemeal your system and piecemeal your components by county size, by all data standards and stuff. But like with the city of Auburn, right now it's spread out among the entire county. Butler, Waterloo, Auburn, we all share the same system. And it's going to take even more work when now we have 2 systems standing up, then we have to share all those together. So, I mean, it's going to take monthly overnight stuff, especially in the first year and a half of designing and developing this system. Stuff can just break. It's not an easy thing to just put together and make 7 or 8 computers talk and make them talk with all the Auburn stuff. So, I don't know, it is a lot of data management.
one of the reasons we had to do this was the fact that we got hacked, and that's why Auburn is requiring us to separate.
Yeah, because we almost lost everything, and that would have been very bad. And now they're like,
So there's still some interaction between the county and Auburn. It sounds like there's
yes,
still
as
things
of
that-
right now, we're still kind of working on a semi-status quo. We're way more restricted than we were before the cyber attack.
Yeah.
But the way it'll work now is there will be an independent Auburn GIS system, there will be an independent DeKalb GIS system, and then Nathan and I will make those 2 talk in the background so that all the cities can get our tax parcel information and we can get all like their water and sewer distribution stuff.
And none of the other cities then are doing anything separate, it's just Auburn?
Yeah, we'll be hosting stuff per the COSIGIS agreement, we'll be hosting stuff for Waterloo, Butler, Garrett, St. Joe, all the other municipalities. We only won't be hosting Auburn information.
Will this mean you have to have new license too, or you?
No, through the COSIGIS agreement, we already have enough licenses to cover 2 systems. So no increased cost there.
Okay.
And then, yeah, with this new position, after I eventually build everything and get the whole system up and running and smooth, my next goal will be to move on to cost saving, cutting out Beacon and building our own stuff in-house, because we already pay for all the tools to do Beacon ourselves. So that'll be like, I think, Beacon-esque, it's like 15. Yeah, so eventually that'll be 20-something. That'll be 20 grand a year that we won't have to pay anymore, but that's obviously website design, a lot of IT stuff, a lot of HTML coding that I'm not perfect at, but I know enough to get it done. And I'll learn more as I'm in this position and save us money.
Will you be able to get this process done by the time you're supposed to split from Auburn, or?
That's the goal. Right now, I've been pushing a lot off to Anthony, our other GIS guy, as I've been working on this, and it's been overwhelming him quite a lot because we've got more than enough work for 2 people right now, and that's why we need the specialist to take what I'm doing off my plate so I can dedicate all my time and attention to this enterprise system and then all the projects that need to come later.
Yeah, he started building the system, right?
In
Like,
January.
In January. Like, we've actually gotten the tools from BESA and IT to start doing this. He just, right now, why we're looking
don't
at
have
this.
time.
Don't have time. We just don't have time to do the day-to-day activities along with this. We wouldn't be able to do it by December 31st if we don't create these new positions. And the data specialist position, my opinion is that we need to do the GIS Enterprise System Administrator position, whether it's exempt or non-exempt, today. The GIS Specialist system will have to be done, because this would probably unload onto the auditor's office and the transfer side in doing this data specialist, and they are overwhelmed, right? Like, we just have, there's a lot going on in DeKalb County. We should raise our property
Which is good.
which is great, yeah. But there's a lot of things going on through the transfer office that speaks to the GIS side, that gets to the assessor's office, that gets to the recorder's office. So
I would need another employee.
it would have to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's got to do the work.
Someone's got to do the work, and
We'd rather have a GIS professional do the work, someone that just graduated with a GIS degree. Hey,
Yep.
kid, here's your first job. Work it for a year or two, and then, yeah, I'll write you a letter of recommendation. You can move on, and I'll find another college kid to take your
and
spot.
probably this is not going to be a position that someone's going to grow
No.
in the county. It's going to be something that we're going to be hiring, like he said, every 2 or 3 years. When they get that experience, they're going to go on to somewhere else to make.
But, I mean,
But it's a great out of college role,
I mean, speaking from experience, this was my first job out of college, and it was,
and he loves it.
yeah. And it took me 6-7 months to find this job, find my first GIS job. So, I mean, if I could help provide back to some kid that needs his first GIS job, that'd be nice.
And this enterprise system administrator would supervise some sort of the new GIS position to get them up, and so there is a little bit of supervisory that is required with
Yeah,
it.
Probably would be, sorry to speak out of turn, probably be more supervisory, this would be of the kind of entire GIS department, where he wouldn't be doing, like, because he falls under development services, we'd still be doing
Right.
budget side
Yeah.
but hiring and any budget requests that they would have would fall through our department.
Sure.
So it'd be more of a,
But the workload is gonna fall.
Yeah, I'll be supervising it, because, yeah, it's gonna take some training to learn what I do. I mean, when you get a legal description from 1850 and you have to map it out in rods and links and chains, that's not an easy thing to learn. But, I mean, and plus, we need someone that has that geospatial discernment skill. We can't just hire someone off the street and say, here, map it down, because we've had GIS people that had no experience in the past, and I've seen the quality of their work, and it's caused a lot of problems. So I want someone that has the education, someone that has the knowledge and geospatial skills to see, oh, okay, these are use lines. This is how we need to do stuff. There's a 15-foot error here. How do we make that look right? Because GIS, while not legally binding, is what we show the public. I mean, people go on Beacon all the time, and it's like, well, this is my property line, and we want to make it as true as possible for the public. But yeah, I would essentially be supervising the 2 existing roles and training.
Okay. Dottie, anything you would like to add?
Let's see. What we will need to do today, because the GIS specialist is not currently a position, the Job Classification Subcommittee, I think would recommend that we create that specialist position. That would be the entry-level one. And that goes into our professional, administrative, technological area, and that's in A. And then we currently have this position, but we need to enhance it. So that's why it's the GIS Enterprise System Administrator. We don't need to hire anybody else for that position, but this updated job description will also need to be approved by the full council. I'm sure the classification subcommittee would recommend that that happens. And somehow there's money somewhere that will need to be appropriated for an increase in, is that the PAT? Nope, that's the
money
same.
thing
But for the GIS specialist.
And thanks for that segue, Dottie. We planned that.
You're welcome.
For the GIS specialist position, we'd be wanting to probably get that hired relatively soon. And I say relatively soon because I understand that I'll have to come here and ask for an additional appropriation. If that would get approved, then we would still be looking at probably August or September. We've kind of lost the hiring of somebody right
Newly
after
minted
college
from
because
college,
college
yeah.
has graduated. College graduates have already graduated, but I think we could probably still find somebody. But with that position, I believe it's $51,000, $52,000 a year now in that category. So we would just need to appropriate, I'm going to do the math in my head, which I'm horrible at, probably like $15,000 or $20,000 to get us through the end of the year for that position. And then whatever you would have to do for health insurance and.
Because you have some that you can transfer to help offset that.
We don't have someone yet. I would like to get someone
Do
hired.
you have any funds that you can
Oh.
transfer? I know we had spoke about it when we met.
Maybe. I could probably finagle something. Well, it'd have to be within the,
Not a lot. It doesn't have to be within the personal services, but
okay.
the whole new position wouldn't have been in the budget at all.
Sure.
So he's got the money that he needs for the administrator part of it, but this new position is brand new.
I might have some that I could help
Right.
offset that cost, but yeah.
You're going to have an additional, no matter what.
Well, also, your budget's gonna be down a little bit, because you won't have to have that $150,000, $200,000 for your,
Right, so my overall budget this
yeah.
year, I hate to say it before we meet, but went down about $100,000 just
Yeah.
because of, part of that is the new LiDAR, which is the contours of our GIS. We do that every 3 years. But then also the comprehensive plan update that we don't need a budget for. So it went down quite a bit because of that. And I'm even adding in, I didn't do it on Susan's side of things, but on my Excel sheet, I added in the money needed for this new specialist position.
So are we at the point we need a motion to approve the two job descriptions and add?
And I think the decision needs to be made about an exempt or non-exempt status for the GIS.
I would do the GIS specialist, vote whether you're going to allow that to be created and approve that job description, and then I would do the other one separate.
I'll make a motion that we approve the GIS specialist to be added to their department and to accept that job description. That's the specialist, that's
The new position.
yeah.
I'll second that.
I did have a question. 'Cause I think you said this was kind of IT, a lot of IT stuff. Is the pay then similar to what the IT is current, like IT interns?
You're talking
and-
about,
like,
you're not talking about for the specialist position. The specialist would be more
I think the specialist.
entry-level data entry
Yeah,
stuff.
like,
That's
so-
not IT. This GIS specialist is GIS, data entry,
Right.
That's
the
not.
GIS enterprise system administrator
Okay.
that he would be doing with the splitting away from Auburn is more IT.
Or IT. And is that comparable, I guess, to what other IT positions are making? I mean, I just don't want to open a can of worms here of, oh, this is.
I'm not aware, I don't know what
IT,
IT,
so-
what their salaries are, but this would,
I haven't looked at that to make sure.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
our IT department, they are a separate category unto themselves.
Okay.
So this would be in the professional administrative technology, the PAT category in the C. The WIS said that it should stay in the same category as it had been before, even though it is enhanced. It just kind of went a different direction into more IT, so a lot more of the computer, the systems stuff than what they had been doing, that particular position had been doing. So it's less IT than our IT department. That's kind of it. So they didn't feel that it ought to go into the special category that our IT department is.
Amy, you good? Are you good?
I guess I kind of thought we were at this point where we were kind of looking at the hiring freeze for a little while, so it just caught me off guard a little bit of, oh, another position, so.
It's what happens when you have things like our cyber attack and you have to,
Right.
you have to address it, so.
Right.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Bob. Would you restate your motion, please?
Made a motion to accept the job description for the specialist and add that position to the county salary ordinance.
We'll do that separate. You're adding it to the department and approving the job description.
Do we have a second?
I seconded it.
Second by Amy Dembski. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
So the
now
second half would be the
decide,
administrator to accept that new job description for Jared.
well, you need to
And
decide,
decide whether it's going to be, recommend it to be either exempt or non-exempt.
yes.
I'll make that motion that we adopt that new job description, and I would like to see it be exempt to save us, to allow him to have the freedom to come in when he needs to make those updates.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thanks, guys, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our council discussion. First item is up is the governor.
Yeah. Oh, something's wrong. Go ahead and discuss.
Next item we want to discuss is the wheel tax. We've kind of tossed it around whether we stay at the current level we adopted or if we need to look at an increase. And if we need to look at an increase, this has to be adopted by the council on or before September 1. So we know that Garrett is putting a wheel tax on, Auburn is going to put it on, and it's probably safe to say it'll be at or higher than where we're at with the county, probably higher. So discussion would be whether we want to stay at the same tax rate or if we, as a county, feel that we need to raise it.
And it, as was mentioned when Jeff was here, it's not stackable. So, you know, those people that live in Auburn and Garrett are not going to have the Auburn tax or the Garrett tax plus the county tax. But those registrations in Auburn and Garrett will be exempted from the county tax, so.
Which right now would be a loss of funds for the county. Open for discussion.
So in light of what the rumor basically about possibility of that coming from community crossings, does that impact that extra million? We were trying to, by passing the wheel tax to begin with, we were trying to make sure that we were eligible to get that extra million to replace some of our lost highway income. But that extra million might go away. Is that the possibility, or?
Yeah, all of that's just rumor talk.
Okay.
Who knows? I mean, but if the state backfills us, if they actually do that, that money's going to have to come from somewhere. So who knows where it's gonna come from, but it's one of the possibilities. But I do, the unfortunate thing right now is we don't know. I think it might be available, but I haven't checked recently. We don't know how many registrations are within the city of Garrett. And that's the only one that's been publicized. That ordinance that they were gonna pass was publicized, I think, last week. We don't know how many registrations that includes. And if Auburn were to do it, we don't know how many registrations that includes. So we don't know what dollar amount we would lose. So right now, it'd be flying blind. But I do believe, I think that the rate was set too low by the county in the first place. So it does I think needs to be increased. It doesn't need to be increased to the maximum. Nobody's gonna want that. But I do know that it's kind of foolish that my car is gonna cost me more than my motorhome in my registration, just because of the way we set it up. So, it ought to be looked at again. So.
I agree, because my semi-trailer costs less than my car and truck going down the road. Paid one $10, another one 15, so something I think gotta be some fairness to it, even though I don't drive the semi down the truck as much as my car and truck.
If you feel like you're undertaxed, you can chip in and pay more. Donate.
That's why I want to look in the local income tax, so we don't have to pay so much property tax. That's where I get burned.
Yeah, me too.
Like, that lady back there, she always collects my money. She's still back there, hiding. Yeah, she always collects with a smile.
I think if this is something we want to look at, possibly increasing, we're going to need to take a look at numbers. We won't be able to do it today at this meeting, but we still have time between now and September 1 to enact. So I think maybe for the July meeting, we take a hard look at the numbers.
Especially when in July, we'll be starting to look at our budget for.
Right. And maybe we'll have more information on Auburn and Garrett, what that's going to take out from the
Auburn
county
and Garrett
side.
would go into effect January 1st of 27.
Yeah, they could not, they have to have it passed by September 1, but it wouldn't take effect until January 1.
And just to defend our tax rate on that, as Rick mentioned and everybody else did, we had to put a wheel tax on if we were going to be eligible for that extra $1 million. But there was also, I know Ben was talking about, there could be money available where we wouldn't even have to put a wheel tax on at one time from the state. And that's probably all disappeared.
No, and some of that about what money was available was also based on, there was a special provision for Indianapolis and Marion County, and they were going to get more money if they themselves raised a certain amount of money, and I believe they did, because I think, if I remember right, I think Marion County put on a wheel tax that would have generated that extra money that they needed to get the extra match from the state.
Well, and there was another rural county fund that was supposed to be available. Ben Parker told me that if you already were getting community crossing as a rural county, you weren't eligible for that pot. So we were already getting it, so we didn't, which they never told us that was going to be the,
right,
on that extra $50 million pot, that if you're already getting it, you're not eligible, so.
But
we're
again,
already getting community crossings.
yeah, but again, just like we were talking earlier, everything we're thinking about, everything we're calculating is based on the rules today as they stand right at this moment. I'll guarantee you that come January, in a long session that they're doing the state budget, everything will change again. And in 28, they'll tweak the changes they made in 27. It's just, that's the way it goes. You've got to stay on top of it all the time in order to understand where you're at and where you're going. That's why Jeff is so valuable.
And also that I was talking to Blake, which is a senator from Elkhart, says, it's going to change a bit. Plus, the fact that the guy that was behind the property tax relief got defeated this May, so that's gonna change some of the steam going out of there. He said, I don't know whether that's gonna change a lot, but he said he's gone, and several other people that was behind the property tax relief, so it all depends what the governor wants.
Well, and you've got one of the state representatives that is proposing a bill, whether it gets any traction or not, that eliminates property tax in total. And if that happens, the state and the locals still need money to function, so you're gonna raise taxes somewhere else to eliminate property tax. And
Or cut spending.
the problem is, Amy, and that's a good thing to say, but what are you gonna, how many jailers are you going to, our biggest expense.
I'm not talking about
is people.
basics. You're gonna, it's just an idea of, hey, state should look at cutting spending at some point too.
The state is, our state is one of the few states that's fiscally sound. What are you gonna cut? What are you gonna cut?
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, you got a list.
I already gave you a list.
Got all the attorneys out.
I gave you a list. Stop sending that money to Purdue and IU and Ball State. That's step one. So
Step one. I like it.
I'm just.
There we go.
Let's,
But we won't go down that. Yeah, we'll keep going.
okay, we're gonna move on, so we'll take a look at the, wheel tax at the next meeting here. Innkeeper's ordinance, Susan?
I'm not sure that it's ready yet. I haven't gotten a final version yet. I
Okay.
don't know if Don has anything on it,
What's that?
on the innkeeper's
Innkeeper's tax.
Yeah,
ordinance.
the treasurer's here. Is she
Yeah.
satisfied with the final draft, or? Yeah, I added, you should have. I thought she sent it. She said she sent it. All it said was, I added, in addition to, get it here. In addition to any penalty imposed herein, any delinquent payments shall be subject to the interest rate established annually by the Indiana Department of Revenue Commission for underpayments.
Okay, so,
And that was the teeth that Ryan asked for, right, to try and help with collection a little bit?
What you have to decide is the percentage,
Okay.
the number. That's what I left blank. And
okay,
that's what we-
so I did not get the final draft, so they've not seen it at all.
Okay.
So
Said she
we
sent it, but
will
I,
have to,
Table it till the next meeting.
well, we can adopt the ordinance at the next meeting. If you guys want to decide on a percentage, we can decide on that. Otherwise, all that will have to be done at next meeting.
what percentage do you want, if any, to increase? That's the blank in my ordinance.
And the state law that just changed allows us to increase the percentage to what number?
8%, isn't it? 8%, up to 8%.
And it's currently
Currently 5, and it could go up to 8 if you pass the ordinance.
This is a tax that is paid by people that stay in any of the hotels or Airbnbs and.
Hotels primarily comes from hotels, but Airbnbs,
LaGrange County, according to this, has already adopted up to 8%. Noble has proposed to go up to 8% on the information that Ryan gave us.
All county, excuse me, do we have that?
Allen is currently at 8%.
you got to remember, it's sometimes apples and oranges, because the innkeeper's tax statute has a list of counties that have a separate statute that they go under than what DeKalb County goes under. And the reason is there's the general innkeeper's tax statute, and then several counties have specific ones that apply just to them. And so you got to be careful when you compare counties, because some of them have been charging 8% for 10 years
And
because.
Did they do that based on certain projects that they were going to do? That's why they got the different rate, or?
It's possible, I don't know. Some of them are more than 10 years old, so I don't know. I think his Shipshewana area's been higher, LaGrange County has been higher, because they have a special statute. And of course, Marion County and Davies County has a special one there.
Is any of this gonna go to pay for the Bears to come to Indiana?
Well, from what I heard this morning, they haven't come yet.
Can you apply any of that to the roads?
This has to be used solely for promoting
Well, other states do
tourism,
it.
so.
In the way of tolls.
So I'm looking for a percent.
Okay,
I'm in favor of going to the 8% since it's a tax on people coming into our county and using
Well,
our
for
facilities.
people staying at hotels, they may not be coming into the county, so.
Primarily.
Primarily.
What it is, and knowing what a lot of the funds, having been a part of the Tourism Bureau and meeting with Ryan on a monthly basis, knowing, and Amber before that, knowing that they're doing more and more grants out to organizations and entities to increase tourism and to help them put on festivals and those kinds of things.
they do an excellent job. You would like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we entertain the full 8%, like Brian asked.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to move it up to 8% for the hotel tax.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any further discussion from the council? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of the innkeeper's tax being increased to 8% from 5% signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion is approved 6-1.
And we'll actually do the ordinance next time.
Yeah, it's kind of lengthy. I would think that you guys want.
Yeah, I think we should read it, and
I'll get it.
we're just giving him the 8%.
The auditor and to the treasurer today for final review, and I'll have the 8% in then when it gets to them. Okay.
Okay. Reminder, the next meeting is July 15th at 8:30, and that'll be a regular meeting followed by budget
Wait.
presentations.
Emails went out from Jody yesterday because the judges cannot, their schedules are full, so they are coming on the 15th at 8 a.m. So that morning, we will have judges' presentation at 8, our regular meeting at 8:30, and then after our regular meeting, around 10:30 or so, we will go back into budget presentations
Okay,
on July 15th.
so next meeting is July 15th at 8 a.m. And we'll begin with the judge's presentation. Susan mentioned, followed by regular meeting at 8:30. Chris?
Just a quick little announcement. I'm passing out things. You're going to have a really long day on July 15th. I'm sorry. We're having Dr. Roberto Gallardo from Purdue coming to the Plan Commission meeting at 5:30 on that evening to do a presentation about data centers. You're welcome, Bill. You're going to have a really long day, buddy. It's just going to be informative Q&A. I'd invite you guys to join us. If a data center does come to DeKalb County, you guys may need to be involved for any type of economic development agreements or things like that that may come forward. So you'd be invited to join us for that meeting. It will be here, so you might as well just bring your sleeping bags.
I'll bring snacks.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, does any member of the council have anything else to come before us? Chris, I know you've been practicing on these words.
Okay, wait.
Nope, wait.
I want to keep it in front of everybody's minds that you need to still think about the must committee that can or cannot be formed. I'm sure there'll be more information this weekend at the county council meeting, but just don't forget about that municipal unit strategic task force that can help with deciding the new lit rates.
And none of those new lit rates take effect until 27, pay 28, right?
Correct, but a must committee has to meet and either come up with a favorable or unfavorable agreement before October of this year.
For agreement for what?
The lit rates.
But those lit rates wouldn't happen until.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand, but they want to know whether the county and the units are gonna come up with an agreement.
This is why we had that discussion last night about, where they kept saying, I'm not sure it can happen by then because we don't know the numbers.
And I think what has to happen is that particular portal that we were using last night has to be available during that committee, during that must committee meeting. The auditor is gonna have to be there. Where the cities and towns are concerned, the people that'll sit on that committee are the clerk treasurers, because the law specifically says the financial officer of the city or town, not the mayor, not the president of the council. It has to be the financial officer. So it'll be the clerk treasurers, and then the council appoints someone, whether it be someone from the council or someone else, to represent the council. But I think it should be the council member, but the auditor would also be the one in attendance, because she's the one that will have the portal that she can show and manipulate during the meeting as you're discussing. Changing percentages, changing allocations, whatnot. You can see it all in real time during that meeting. And that meeting does have to be a public meeting. So it will be one that'll be in here and be live streamed.
You have to have a unanimous agreement.
And it has to be a unanimous agreement. So that's where everyone has a veto, but the county, because in the end, it all goes to the county council for a decision. But if the council member would say no to whatever agreement came up, that would just kill the whole thing, because it has to be unanimous.
That's an option, right? We don't have to. It's not mandatory. Those committees are not mandatory.
No, it's
They're
not mandatory, but you
suggestion.
try to do something and not involve everybody else, the slings and arrows will come out quickly.
It's not binding on the council. What they decide is not binding.
It's not.
No, it's not.
So
It's
kind
not.
of
But if you're going to have an agreement, you probably should stick with it.
I think the idea is to get the discussion started and get people to get their minds around it, wrapped around it, because they said over and over again last night in that presentation that we aren't going to have the right numbers until the next year to actually apply that.
Right.
But people now need to start, all these entities need to understand how it's going to work.
And the MUST committee came out of the fact that it has been a priority of the County Council Association over the last 4 years that I'm aware of to eliminate the COIT councils. In those, there are counties within the state of Indiana who the local option income taxes were not controlled by the county council. It was controlled by, in Allen County's case, it was controlled by the city of Fort Wayne. So the county had to live with whatever Fort Wayne decided. Same thing, it's in Howard County, I think was, Kosciuszko County was, but if in a COIT situation, the location with the largest population, the largest percentage, controlled those local option income taxes. And it was the desire of the County Council Association, and what we were pushing is the county council represents everyone in the county. The majority, no matter where you live, you can vote on a majority of the county council. You can vote on 3 at-large members and your district members. So you always had a vote for the majority. So they eliminated the COIT councils. That upset those cities and towns that had COIT councils. So this must thing was created because there was starting to be a battle between counties and cities that the county was going to harm or was not going to work in conjunction with those larger cities. So it was a compromise that came into place. So that's why it exists.
Anything else before the council? Chris? Yeah, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.